Okay, now you're going to apply what you've learned to a real life scenario. Startled armadillo jumps straight into the air with an initial vertical velocity of 14 feet per second. For how many seconds does it land on the ground? So we want to know how far that's up in the air. So you got feet and seconds. Seconds is x, feet is y. So per feet per second. The feet per second is 14. And we are going to make a picture, but it's not a line. Here's why. Because the armadillo goes up and he comes down. He is pulled up and down by the force of gravity. Now, what you want to put next to gravity is the number -16. Okay? And you'll see where that comes into play later. Now, right there, that is what is known, it's like a rainbow. It's how it would look jumping up, coming back down. That's called a parabola. Now, when you have a parabola, you need to mark where you started and where you ended. So before the 14 feet per second, I don't see a number, so I assume we started at 0 feet. After the 14 feet per second, I don't see a number, so I assume we ended at 0 feet. 0 ft means feet. Now this is how you write an equation from a parabola. That's where x second, x constant comes into play. Then you're going to put equals the letter y. Now x second is filled in with this gravity term, -16. That's your gravity. This is filled in with your feet per second, 14. The rate, just put the rate. This is filled in with where he started at, which would be 0. So if you have a slot with 0, you need to get rid of it. And then this 0 feet here at the end, on the other side, on the downside, goes in for the letter. Feet is y, so 0 is going to replace y. So now write your equation so it looks prettier. -16x to the second plus 14x equals 0. And now we can solve, okay? So, use your rules. Know how many. Now it's not really a story problem anymore. Okay, it is not necessarily really a story problem. There are 2 answers. What powers are those variables to? You have x second and you've also got x to the first. So you are going to use your factoring principles. Okay. Now you have your 0. Okay, that's good. So you're set. So I'm ready for the box. So this is where I'm looking. You have an x on the end. You have a negative in the front. I expect to see negative here, okay? Why? Because the first number's negative, okay? The front number's negative. The x second coefficient's negative, whatever you want to say. But if that's negative, you need negative. Okay, 14 and 16 on the multiplication table. If you look, it's going to be both in the 2 row, okay? Get that here so I have it. 14, 16, both there in the 2 row. That's your greatest common factor. Then you wrap it up, you underline your terms, and then that's what you're dividing by. Not just -2, it's -2x, okay? All right, so -16 divided by -2 is 8. X second divided by x. Well, that's x. -14 divided by 2 is -7, so you're going to put -7, and then x divided by x. That wipes out the x's completely off the 7. So go outside here and line them up. Put your parentheses here, -2x, and then 8x minus 7 equals 0. Now you go F1, F2, and solve. So -2x could equal 0. or 8x minus 7 could equal 0. Okay, so here you got times, so you circle that, then you divide both sides by negative 2. 0 divided by negative 2 is 0. 8x minus 7 equals 0. Okay, so times 8 minus 7. So you take out your minus 7 with a plus 7. Divide by 8, divide by 8. 0.875. If you want to go second PRB, it would be 7/8. Okay, either 0.875 or 7/8. Now, just put the decimal on this assignment. Now, take the bigger answer over here, and that's your answer. Okay, that's the overall answer. When you get two answers, I want to see them both, but then you just take your bigger answer. That's going to be your solution. Okay, next one. A penguin jumps out of the water while swimming at an initial velocity of 4 feet per second. After how many seconds does a penguin land back in the water? So seconds equals. So you got feet and seconds. Feet per second. That's 4 times x. Okay. Penguin goes up, but he comes back down, and he's pulled down by the force of gravity, which in algebra is negative 16, not negative 9.8. Okay, so you draw a parabola since he goes up and comes down. So you mark where he started and where he ended. There's nothing before the 4 feet per second, so I assume that's 0 feet. There's nothing that comes after the 4 feet per second, so I assume that's 0 feet. Okay, now, when you have this, that's where the x second is applied in a real life scenario, and then the x and the constant equals y. So, negative 16, the gravity goes here. Then, the 4 is your x, okay? Then, the constant is where he started. He started at 0 feet, so you fill in the constant with 0, means you get it deleted. You can scribble it out. Now, you take on the downside of the parabola, you take that 0 feet from here to here, and feet equals y, so that goes in for y. You put 0 in for y, now y is gone. So I have negative 16x to the second plus 4x equals 0. Okay, and x has two solutions. You have x second, and you have x to the first, so you have to apply your factoring properties. Gee, to apply factoring properties, first we need the 0. We're there, so we're set. So now you go straight to your box over there. You do have x on the end. You have a negative in the front, so I expect to see a negative placed there, right in front of the slot. Then the coefficients 16 and 4 are in row 4. They're also in row 2, but you need the deepest row down. So 4. So now you divide by negative 4x. Negative 16 divided by negative 4 is 4. X second divided by x. So x. 4 divided by negative 4 is negative 1, so negative 1. Then x divided by x cancels. Okay, now bring these parentheses just out here. Okay, so f1, f2. So negative 4x equals 0, 4x minus 1 equals 0. So you divide by negative 4. 0 divided by negative 4 is 0. Minus 1, so plus 1, 0 plus 1 is 1. and divide by 4, divide by 4. 1 divided by 4 is 0.25. I would just go with decimals here. And the higher of your two answers is the one you put here. You'll end up with two answers. The highest one's the one you put over. Okay, I should say a dog, not a dot. A dog leaps up into the air to catch a frisbee with an initial velocity of 8 feet per second. After how many seconds does a dog land on the ground? Okay. So feet and seconds. Seconds is X, feet is Y. So the feet per second is 8. 8 times X. The dog goes up, he goes back down. How does that happen? He's pulled down by the force of gravity, which is -16. So parabola. Before 8 feet per second, I don't see anything, so 0 feet. After 8 feet per second, I don't see anything, so 0 feet. Now you write your equation. Starting with x to the second, then x, then constant equals y. So x second, you have -16. X, you would have a coefficient of 8. The constant would be the starting height, okay, but it's 0. So since that's 0, you can cross that out. Then 0 feet. At the end, I'm taking it from the end, okay, that's where I'm getting that. That equals y. So you have -16x to the second plus 8x equals 0, and now it's no longer a story problem. Now it's just a regular problem. So you have two answers, okay? In the equation, that variable x is to the second power, and that variable is also to the first power, so we cannot combine them. We have to apply our factoring properties. Okay, so you're set, so that's good. You're set, you can make your box right away. You don't have to move, take anything here, and then slot it again, okay? So you're good. GCF. You have X on the end. You have a negative in the front, so I expect to see the negative. I think I'm going to have a negative in front on every gravity. 16 and 8, well, those are in row 8, okay? So you divide them both by -8x. So -16 divided by -8 is 2. X second divided by x, that's x. 8 divided by -8 is -1. And then x divided by x cancels. So we've got -8x, and then 2x minus 1 equals 0. Divide by -8, divide by -8, x equals 0. Over here, you got times 2 minus 1, so plus 1, plus 1, 2 times x equals 1, divide by 2, 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. Okay, a cat leaps from the ground into the air with an initial velocity of 11 feet per second. After how many seconds does a cat land on the ground? Okay, so you have feet and seconds. Seconds is x, feet is y. So per feet per second, that would be 11. again, that cat's going to go up, he's going to go down, and he's pulled up and down by the force of gravity, which is negative 16. Okay, so 0 feet is where he starts at, because you don't see any number before the 11, and you don't see any value after, so 0 feet is where he ends up at. Slot it, okay? Anytime you see this, this is how you set up the equation. Okay, so negative 16 is your x to the second, 11 is your x, and then 0 feet, that occupies your constant space, okay? Okay, 0 feet here, feet equals y, so 0 occupies your y. Or shoot, delete that slot first. Then you have negative 16x to the second plus 11x equals 0. Just write it so it looks nicer. Okay, now it's no longer a story problem. You have two answers for x, okay? Your variables are x to the second and x to the first. Variables are x to the second and x to the first. So you have to apply your factoring properties, just like I've told you before. And you're already set with the 0, so you're ready for your box right off the bat. You'll just take your parentheses over here. Okay, so you got x on the end. You have a negative in the front. You have on every problem here, 16 and 11. 11 and 16 are only in row 1, so it would just be 1. So then I go up here and divide by negative 1x. Okay, so that's 16 x second divided by x would be x. 11 divided by negative 1 is negative 11. And x divided by x cancels. Okay. F1, F2. Okay. So you have negative 1x equals 0. 16x minus 11 equals 0. So you divide by negative 1. 0 divided by negative 1, 0. Plus 11, plus 11, 0 plus 11, 16, or 11. Then you need to divide by your 16. Decimal, you can write that, just write the decimal, 0.6875. There you have it. There's your seconds, okay? Okay, last problem. A spittle bug, whatever that is, jumps into the air at the initial vertical velocity of 10 feet per second. After how many seconds does a spittle bug land on the ground? So seconds equals. So you have feet and seconds. So the seconds is x, the feet is y. So feet per second. Feet per second looks like 10 times x. Okay. So again, that spittle bug is pulled up and down by the force of gravity. So that's negative 16. What goes up must come down. Before the 10 feet per second, you don't have anything, so you assume it's 0 feet. Then there's nothing after the 10 feet per second, so you would assume it's 0 feet. Then, x second, x, constant equals y. That's always how you write an equation from a parabola. So x second is negative 16. X is 10. Whatever we started at is my constant, okay? This is your constant, and it's 0, so you get to delete that space. Then this 0 feet on the end I bring down here, and feet equals y. Okay? So you have negative 16x to the second plus 10x equals 0. Okay, so now you're ready to solve. The x that you're trying to solve for is to the second power. You have x to the second, you have x to the first. So you need to apply factoring. So you're set, okay? Okay, then GCF. X there, negative in front, then 16 and 10. That'd be a 2's row. Then you need to go up and divide by negative 2x, not just negative 2. So it's 8 x second divided by x, okay? That's x. 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5, so minus 5. Bring them over here. So F1, F2. So negative 2x could equal 0, or 8x minus 5 could equal 0. So you divide by negative 2. 0 divided by negative 2 is 0. Over here times 8 minus 5, so you plus 5, plus 5, that's 5. And then divide by 8. And 5 divided by 8, 0.625. Okay, that's it.